Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to Unmute Your Voice because confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. It's something you build over time. That's why we're meeting today. Because if you've ever blanked in a meeting, rambled in an interview, or second guessed yourself after saying too much or even too little, this session is for you. Welcome. Checking in, seeing who's here live. Excellent. Glad to see this all coming together. It's always exciting when a live event starts. But why is this important? Why is this important for you and for me today? Whether you're building a team, pitching a client in an interview, or speaking up for yourself, for your team, for your child, whatever it is, you need more than just good ideas. Good ideas are key, but you need to communicate them clearly and confidently, especially under pressure. That's why I created this whole summer series, Unmute Your Voice, with the most valuable insights and tips I give my clients in one sessions. I've wrapped it all up in bite sized chunks for you because this is important. That's why I want to share it with you. I'm changing my screen here so we can get a little closer, talk together. Hi. So, as I said, this is important. And I get this question a lot. But, Elizabeth, aren't you afraid of giving away your best stuff for free? No, nope. I'm absolutely not. Because if this helps you, I'm glad. And besides, if my clients have already mastered this stuff, if they already know this stuff, if you come to me already with this foundation basis, we get to go even deeper. So I am not worried at all about sharing this stuff. But who am I and why should you listen to me? Hi, if we haven't met before, I'm Elizabeth Miller. I'm a verbal branding expert and LinkedIn Live strategist. I help business leaders like you speak with impact and show up with leadership presence as not just another option, but the option that people want to talk to, work with, listen to, and collaborate, right? That's what we want, especially when the stakes are high. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. So let's think about this just to get in the right mindset before we begin with all the tools and techniques, because I'm all about value. But think about a time or a moment when you wish you had spoken up with more confidence. And this can be in any language. It can be in your first language, your strongest, or your weakest. Doesn't matter. Let's think about that moment. Maybe you said too little. Maybe you rambled and said too much. Either way, it doesn't feel good, does it? No, it sucks. And many of my clients and I myself have had this feeling and we just think like, this is not who I am. Why am I saying this? What is happening? That's what we want to talk about today. If you've ever had that feeling or think of a time when you've experienced that, go ahead and drop an emoji in the chat. Let me know, what does that feel like? What did that feel like for you? And do you want that to happen again? Don't think so. So while you're dropping those emojis, I'm going to put up the full slide so that we can see this together. And here we go. Just to remind you, if you're joining me live now or you're clicking in on the replay, welcome. Go ahead and leave a comment so I can call out your name and say hello to you personally. I would love to do that, call out your name. But either way, it's important information today. Confidence is not something you're born with. I know we look at these people and we think, that's just who they are. I'm not like that. But confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you can build. And we're building it today. Great. So, just a quick overview of what you'll get in this session. And for the people who usually watch me on Instagram, I have to apologize. We didn't make it there today, but I'll put up the replay for you in any case, because that's the cool thing about live sessions. We can always catch that replay. So, just a quick overview of what we're doing today, what you'll get in the session. because I'm all about value. Your time is valuable. My time's valuable. Let's be efficient. We're going to talk about quick strategies to sound confident, even when you're not 100% ready, right? Quick strategies to sound confident, come across as confident, and push that confidence forward to those around you as well. So it's a sharing and a building together. The second thing I'm going to share with you today are tools to calm your nerves and organize your thoughts fast, because we often don't have time to plan, prepare, get feedback. It's the heat of the moment, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And a better way, this is number 3, a better way to think about confidence that actually works. So if you've been thinking that's not who I am, it would be nice, stay tuned, because number 3 is for you. Number 3 is for you. All right, let's go back to these slides here. I like these ones a little bit better. So we're going to go ahead and go into our first point. Number 1, you don't need to be perfect to be powerful. I'm going to say that again. It's really good. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. Why this matters. Like, we know this for other people, right? When we hear someone else speaking, we don't think, oh, that person's not perfect yet, so I'm not going to listen to them, or what they say isn't valuable because, their hair is funny. No, not at all. We hold people to a different standard. But when it comes to us, many of us put a little extra pressure there that's not needed. So today's a good day to say, stop. Let's reassess the situation and call it like it is, right? Because most people wait until they feel ready. But if you keep waiting for perfection till you have all the knowledge, all the expertise, you'll stay quiet. You'll stay quiet. You'll miss opportunities and miss lots of things, and you'll miss being able to learn and gain that expertise as you're going, because life is changing so quickly. Never will we reach a point where we know it all. I think maybe in the Middle Ages that could have been possible, but no longer today. I'll give you an example from my personal life. Yesterday, I was at the golf club. I'm learning to play golf. It's a new thing for me. And I live in Austria, in Vienna, Austria. And here you need to have a Platzreife. That's a special license that says I'm qualified to play on a golf course. I don't have this yet, but there was a group of women having a business league lounge, I think it's called. I'll have to double check the name. And they just spontaneously, I was invited to join. Did I have my business cards? Did my phone have charge? No, 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 no. Was I sweaty because it was super hot? Yes. But I went anyway. I wasn't ready. I wasn't perfect, but I said yes to the opportunity and jumped right in. And I'm so glad I did. I already, right here on my desk, 2 business cards that I wouldn't have normally, right? Here they are. So really excited about those opportunities and getting to be part of this group for networking, really quality people I'm excited to connect with throughout the summer and in the fall. So that's from my personal life. Don't wait to be perfect. So let's talk about some key steps here. How can we make this happen, right? It's nice to say, oh, you don't have to be, done is better than perfect. Yeah, that's true. But how? How can we do this? So I'm going to give you some quick steps. 1, this is what I tell my clients: set your foundation. So my foundation is not based on how well I play golf. No. Whenever you're entering something new, for example, me at this golf group, I'm never coming to the table empty handed, right? I always have everything I've learned, all my experience, everything, knowledge and experience and insights that I've had up until this point. I'm bringing all of that to the table. So we're not empty handed. So even when entering something new, base your base your confidence on your current knowledge, on your transferable knowledge. So focus on what you're confident about, what you do well, and grow from there, build from there. So that's what it's about. It's about starting with what you know, something that you do every day for years. That's kind of a no brainer for you, might seem really well to you, but is inspiring for someone else. So start from there and use those transferable skills. This is something that comes up a lot when I'm working with clients who are transferring jobs or changing their career trajectory and changing their path. Or people who've been out of work, either caring for a loved one, having children, traveling, whatever they've done, and they're transferring. Many of us feel like we're coming empty handed. We're starting from scratch, but that's not the case. You've already done many things that will help you in your forward journey. So that's something where I encourage my clients to base their confidence on. The other thing is in the new leadership model, something that many coaches, trainers, and thought leaders of today are speaking about, leaders are no longer expected to know everything, to have all the answers, to micromanage their teams. This isn't what we want anymore. This isn't working actually. It's more important to be curious, to ask questions, because leaders don't need to know everything. A leader's job, the best thing you can do to be a solid and good leader is to know your team, nurture your team, and help your team members be the best that they can be. Give them the resources, the tools they need to work together and solve problems, right? So it's never about bulldozing, it's more about building. And the other thing that's important, especially when you're in a new environment, is to remember that you earn trust through presence, not perfection. We earn trust through presence, leadership presence, and not perfection. Think about it this way. When have you ever said, "Oh, I trust that person because they're perfect"? No one. No one has ever said that, right? I know I certainly haven't. If you have, drop me a DM. Like, let me know because I want the example where perfection mattered to you. Or do you trust someone because they take time for you, because they're there when you need them, because they listen, because they care, because they lean in, because they anticipate your needs and support you through difficult times. This is how we build trust. And this is also something you can feel confident about, regardless of the situation, the industry, or what you're doing in that specific moment. So let's have a little engagement question here. I see people coming into the live session. Welcome, welcome. If you're just joining me live, feel free and leave a comment. I have a question for you. Think about a time where you've been holding back, or a space or an area. Is there something where you're holding back, where you're not being as forward or as vocal or as value focused as you are in other areas, simply because you don't feel expert enough or perfect enough or good enough? Think about that. What kinds of situations? And if you're have something specific in mind, maybe you can also share, what do you think you could be missing out on? What are you missing out on because of that? I'll refer back to my, oh my goodness, my glasses are on my face. I'll refer to my story earlier about golf. Like, yeah, I'm not a good golfer yet, but I don't want to miss out on opportunities of connecting with like minded, wonderful, forward thinking women. So I'm joining the league, even if my golfing isn't perfect or even passing the test. So that's something I don't want to miss out on, that opportunity. I visited that question. I said, "Mm-mm, I'm giving it a go." And I'm certain it's a worthwhile investment. If you have encouragement for me, some good words or tips, I'm all ears. I also want to share an example story. If you're thinking about this, whether you're listening live on the replay, go ahead and leave those comments because I will see them. and I'll respond with you. But I want to tell a story about a woman I worked with. She was my client, and she wanted to shift careers, completely new career, and be a programmer. But she held back for years. She was waiting, she was training. She kind of talked about it as her hobby on the side. And that was working for her for quite a while, actually, until she found the perfect job. She found the perfect job for her. She wanted it so bad, but she didn't feel ready. And she panicked, full blown panic. So she called me up. We worked together. We got clear on her story, clear on where she should base her confidence, not on this new career shift. But she had some skills, she had training, but she hadn't used it in a work environment yet. So we decided not to base her confidence there, but rather on the decades of experience and knowledge that she already had, transferable knowledge, right? There's some things that problem solving, listening skills, there's tons of skills, communication skills, for example, that you do every day that transfer no matter what industry or field you're in or role. So today, yay, happy story. Today, she's a front end web developer, and she's leading the conversation on building an inclusive and accessible web for all. Yes, I love success stories. I love success stories. So let's see how we're doing in the comments here. It's quiet. So those who are listening on the replay, fill it up, give me some love. Speaking of love, I have my new smile today. Braces off. Don't want to take extra time to talk about my teeth. It's been a saga. You can check out my YouTube channel if you're interested in my teeth talk. But if you've had braces, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's go. Let's move to point number 2. We're moving into point number 2. A little bit slow there with the slides, but that's all right. We are going strong, packed with value. Number 2, this is so key. This one is so key and it's very meaningful for me personally. Nervous energy is normal. Nervous energy is normal. Our goal is to learn how to redirect it. That's right. Nervous energy is normal. Why this matters? You've probably heard this before, but really, confidence is not the absence of nerves. It's knowing what to do with them. Okay. So our goal is not to zen out and get rid of nervous energy. Like if you start to feel nervous before having an important talk, an interview, a presentation, don't take this as a sign you're in the wrong place or you're not prepared or you're doing the wrong thing or there's something wrong. Nerves are actually something helpful. Call me crazy, but it's true. Let's dig into this. I see my eyeglasses are really reflective today. Don't like that, but maybe it's just when I turn to the side. Should I talk to you like this the whole time? Yeah. So let's dig into this. So everyone's felt nervous. Maybe you have shaky palms, upset stomach, running to the bathroom every 30 seconds, shaking. There's a lot of things that can happen. Some people get nervous tics or twitches, itchy skin. There's a lot of different things. Sweating for sure. Drop your experience in the comments because maybe I have a specific thing to help your specific situation. But in general, generally speaking, without any specific comments to speak to, specifically, let's do generally. So things that are quite common, something that helps most, I would say 95% of my clients, is to reframe the nerves, not as fear, but excitement. Reframe your nerves as excitement. You're excited to do this. You're passionate to do this. You want to do this well. This is an excellent mindset so you don't get derailed by your nerves, but reframe them to help you. I also have a personal story that connects directly to this. I remember a day I was in university and I was in the theater group and we were doing this play. And I remember the day when I thought I had beaten stage fright. I was like, yes, I got it. I'm not nervous, no upset stomach, no running the bathroom, nothing. I thought, "Ugh, I totally got it, figured it out." I was in the theater group in university and we did that play so many times. We did it so many times, it actually became routine. I mean, it was week after week, just every day, just doing it over and over and over to the point where I wasn't nervous anymore. And I thought, cool, right? Like, totally nailed it. But that's not what happened. No, no, my performance was so bad. Wasn't into it. I wasn't focused. I didn't have adrenaline that I usually have. That's part of that nervousness, right? That peak focus and fight, flight, freeze kind of energy that where you are so in tune, thinking so precisely, so focused. I lost it. I was chill. I thought this would be good, but my performance was that really down. I missed some cues. My lines weren't on point like they were. So it was actually a fail. It was a fail. And I knew I had to change my approach. I had to bring back my nerves. The thing I was fighting so hard against, I realized was the wrong approach. I needed the nerves. I needed that rush, that adrenaline, that focus, right? I needed that focus. So again, confidence isn't the absence of nerves, it's knowing how to use them and using them to our advantage. Now, some people have mentioned when they're really nervous, they freeze. They freeze, their mind goes blank, like everything just and they feel stuck. If this has happened to you, you are not alone. You are not alone. One thing that's very helpful here is to use physical movement, small physical movements to reset your energy. So many the science tells us that in those kinds of moments when we're really quite adrenaline pumping, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And if you find yourself in this freeze position, and you're stuck, mind goes blank, body is frozen, you know what I'm talking about. One thing that will help is small, subtle movements. Take a drink of water. This small, subtle movement, if you can only move one little finger, start there till it gets bigger, right? And we use this body energy to help your brain also begin to move and enter into flow. So we want to go from freeze to flow. And if all you can move is one little finger, start there and build up from that. So using physical movement to reset your energy and create flow, both physically and mentally. And many people love or benefit quite a bit from creating a pre-speaking ritual. Pre-speaking ritual. Now, many people know this from giving big presentations or pitches or things where you plan and prepare, but you can also do this in a meeting. If someone approaches you in an elevator, in an interview, and you get a pop question you didn't expect, pre-speaking ritual. Breathe, pause, ground yourself. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in point 3, but there is no problem with taking a second before you speak so that you can move from freeze to flow, right? I'm curious. I'm curious. Those are some real technical, like, how are we going to get out of the stuck position? But I'm curious, how does nervous energy show up for you? How does it show up for you? How do you usually deal with it? And which of these that we talked about previously, which of those have worked for you? Have you tried? Which one have you thought, huh, that's pretty good, Elizabeth. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to remember that because I don't want to forget it. Drop that in the comments and let me know. Let me know. And again, I apologize to our Instagram friends. There's a bit of a connection there. We have a problem. Not sure why that's happening. Yeah, say la vie. It's the heat. It's the heat. It must be the heat. All right. Moving on, let's go to point number 3. We're coming up. I want to make this quick and juicy for you, quick and juicy, because time is valuable. Number 3, clear speaking comes from clear thinking. Clear speaking comes from clear thinking. And if your thoughts are scattered, unprepared, all over the place, your words will be too. I mentioned that in point number 2 when I said, you want to breathe, pause, and ground yourself before speaking. So this is getting clear thinking, which leads directly to clear speaking. All right, I switched it around, but I think you're here for it, right? So let's talk about exactly how to do this. It's easy to say, yeah, just think clearly and you'll be awesome. Yeah, perfect, wonderful, perfect world. But, especially when you're doing things live or interacting in a tense environment, it's nice to have some skills, some tools in our pocket that we can pull out and use to help us out. So, again, this is what we talked about a little bit before. So take a breath, like a deep breath, like or a little curious look. Take a breath and organize your thoughts. Think about your point before speaking, before you start. With small children, and one of their tense situations is when they're angry. And we often tell children, count to 10 before you speak. And I like that idea in that pause, taking some time before you lash out and say something or do something you don't really want to do or don't is not aligned with who you are and who your values, and you're just speaking out of anger and emotion. Yes, but I don't want to tell you to count to 10. I want you to think about what is your main point? What is the main idea, the main message, your main goal in speaking? What is the one thing you want your listeners to know and remember, right? Focus on that in your breaths rather than counting to 10, because you know how to count to 10. Okay. So that is one. Take that breath, organize your thoughts, organize your point, right? Why are you speaking? What is the most important thing here? What's the message you want to get across? And then once you have that, I highly recommend using a simple structure. I highly recommend using a simple structure, especially if you're in a freeze mode or if you're a rambler or if you just don't speak at all. I mean, so either way, we want to get organized and clear, because the clearer we are, the clearer our message will come across and the greater the impact, of our words. So I'm going to give you a few simple structures. You can also ask Dr. Google or ChatGPT, but here are a few simple structures that my clients use and I use in different situations depending on the context. One is problem, insight, next step. I see this problem. Here's my viewpoint. Here's what I think we should do next. Yeah, so that's kind of direct problem solving. This is pretty useful in a meeting or something of that sort. Another one is the self story. This is part of my job interview mastery course. It's the self story where you talk about yourself, your previous experiences, and not only it's an acronym. So it's S for situation, E for evaluation, L for leverage, how I leverage the situation or what I learned from it, depending on if it's a success or fail story. And F is probably the most important, the forward thinking or what I'm taking into the future. So, yes, I had this experience in the past where I failed, but I learned from it. And now this is what I'm bringing to your company today. This is what I'm bringing to the table today. This is how I'm a better person now and why you want to work with me, as an example. Another structure. So, those are two structures: problem, insight, next step, self story. I like, I love, I wonder. I like, I love, I wonder. So, one thing I like about what you just said, one thing I love about you or what you said or your insight, and one thing I wonder. So, this is where we take more of a curiosity rather than attack. But I wonder if you use the red channel instead of the blue one, how that might differ, or what the data would say if we did this, or I wonder how this target group would respond to that. So it's just opening up without attacking. So it's a good structure, especially when it's tense, right? Especially when it's tense. Um, and if you want help, these are 3 examples. If you want help finding the right structure for you in your context, I'm your person. We can come up with an easy structure so you can say it without sounding robotic or weird, yet effective. So having these tools in your pocket to pull out when needed is so helpful. And again, remember, 1 point per sentence, full stop. This is the first time people are hearing what you say. It's the first time. It's new, it's fresh. So make it simple because our brains really can't handle more. Really, they can't. I think there was the old for the KISS principle, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So, yeah, 1 point per sentence, one idea, one concept, and have them all work together without distractions, without derailing what you're saying. So, that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about here with point 3, because clear speaking comes from clear thinking, and that's what I want for you. Think about a time, and this is whether you're listening live or on the replay, think about a time when you rambled or you couldn't find the right words and you were stuck in that feeling, or you were frozen, or you felt like diarrhea mouth and I couldn't keep it in. Right? I've had all of those experiences. But now, in a calm, relaxed space, which I hope you have while watching my LinkedIn Live, think about that. What would you say differently now? What would you do differently now? So I'm going to take a drink here. Always a good idea to have a drink of water, especially in this heat. Mm, maybe I should have a fan too next time. I could have a fan and be a fan of myself. Actually, not I should. I could. Do you want some? Whew. It's a heat wave. It's a heat wave. And I'm going to Philadelphia next week, and I hope their heat wave breaks. All right. So I want to tell a story about a time when I reacted quickly. It was a kind of a pressure situation. I reacted quickly. I felt a little bit attacked, and I could have done it differently. I could have used one of these structures. So I'll tell you my story. I was giving a talk about doing live events on LinkedIn. What? Me? It's true. I was giving a talk about it. It was a live talk in front of an audience, and an audience member was pinching me a bit. It was, the details don't matter, but this person was pinching me a bit, and I knew it, which is probably why I wasn't responding in my best way. But their point was that rather than the point I made was it's important to start where you are now and grow for LinkedIn Lives. And their point was no, it's much better to wait until you have a big audience to start. This was their experience. This is a valid approach. Absolutely. But my point in this presentation, it's not wrong, was to start now, to start and grow and to encourage people to try new things. And that was sort of the context. And before I got a chance to respond to that specific comment from the audience, two other people from the audience responded and said, "Oh, no, but what if you have a small niche group? Or what if you have this? And no, that's not right because of this." Which was lovely interaction, and I wish, rather than jumping on that line, I wish I had kind of let that grow a little bit, because how I responded was also the same thing. "But what about this?" or "What about that?" or "Isn't it better to start and grow? What if you're not confident yet? Do you wanna be in front of 1,000 people?" Uh, Looking back, I think I would rather have used the "I like, I love, I wonder" approach, or even maybe the problem, insight, next step approach, because that way I could have helped the speaker, the person pinching me, the person asking the question to flesh out their thought more. To flesh out their thought more and for us to look at it with curiosity together rather than an adversary pro versus con situation, but what's necessary? What's really important? What equals a successful LinkedIn Live event? What is necessary and what isn't? I think that would have been a better learning experience, a better communication experience for all of us. So that's one area where, I'm always rethinking and challenging myself as well. But this one, point number 3, and I'm going to pull this slide back up again just to visually support our talk here today. Clear speaking comes from clear thinking, and how important that is. How important that is every day, and every audience, actually. So I encourage you to use the tools and techniques we talked about so far. Great. So just a quick recap, and I'm going to put this actually on a bigger slide. Now, I believe you can still hear me. Yes. So just a quick recap here for those of you who joined the live now. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. And nervous energy is a signal, not a stop sign. So if you're going to give a big, important speech or pitch or have a tricky conversation and you feel nervous, this is a signal. This is important to you. This is something you want to do well, and you have adrenaline there to support you. It's not a stop sign. And if you missed it earlier, you can go back and watch the replay and find out some specific tools for that, or send me a DM. And number 3, clear thinking leads to confident speaking. So go ahead and take a breath. Go ahead and take a breath, calm yourself. Think of a structure, think of your main point. Whoops, reverse that. Think of your main point. Think of a structure that could possibly help you out in that situation, and then begin speaking. So that is a quick conclusion of the tools and tips I shared with you here today. And now I want to keep this momentum coming. Feel free to send me your questions, either write them below, send me a DM. Share your takeaways from today. What did you hear that you don't want to forget? Go ahead and share that in the comments. Send me a DM. And if you have something specific, we can troubleshoot. Send me a message. Give me the details. We'll troubleshoot anything that still feels shaky for you. All right. So if you've liked what you've heard, If you'd love to get more insights like this, go ahead and hit the like button, leave a comment, share in your network, tag your friends, and most importantly, join me next Thursday for the next session of Unmute Your Voice. And I have a slide for that. I'll also give you the link in the comments. Give me 1 second. That's so good. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. So true. So true. So true. So there we go. Unmute your voice. Session 2. Now, this one is on July 3rd. So next Thursday. And the title is The Number One Way to Increase Your Impact Without Selling Your Soul. Yeah, I was thinking about that because of the Sinners movie that came out, right? And all this about selling your soul to the devil and vampires. Did I see it? No. Do you love it? Tell me about it. I'm very skeptical. I'm not a horror movie person myself. But back to our event next week and what I'm going to be focusing on. Again, it's the number one way to increase your impact without selling your soul, because, you could have the world's very best idea, but if your delivery falls flat, if no one knows about it, it won't land. It won't go anywhere. You'll just be stuck in your own head, right? Excuse me. And this live session, so the live session next Thursday, empowers you to say things in a way that people feel. Listen to that again. This empowers you to say things in a way that people feel, so they listen, remember, and act, right? This is about increasing your impact. We're going to be talking about vocal quality so that you can sound clear and strong. We're going to talk about specific body language. And I'm not talking about sexy body language, but body language and how it can boost or kill your authority, right? So there may be things you're doing that undermines your authority without even realizing it. So we're going to unpack that next week. And the other thing we want to talk about, let me get in a little bit closer here so I can talk to you. The other thing we're going to talk about is a mindset shift. The mindset shift so that you can speak up, be heard, and lead with confidence, right? Does that sound good? Sound like what you want? The answer is yes. Yes, it is. So join me next Thursday. That's July 3rd. That's going to be a little bit later. It's going to be at 17 o'clock Central European Summertime, or 11 a.m. Eastern. 11 a.m. Eastern, because I'm going to be in Philadelphia next week. Oh, yeah. You betcha I'm going to need this fan. Because confidence isn't just in your words. It's in your voice. It's in your voice. So we're going to unmute your voice this summer. And again, as I said, I'm going to copy this link here. I'm going to put that in the chat so you can go ahead and register. LinkedIn does a wonderful job of sending you reminders and information about that so that you can be there and not miss it. So go ahead and register for that. And you'll also get the replay. Isn't that a good thing? I know. Thank you, LinkedIn. Love. So we're here 45 minutes into the hour, and this is how I like it. Short, sweet, punchy, valuable, juicy, everything you want, nothing you don't. And this is the first kickoff session for Unmute Your Voice. Join me next Thursday and every Thursday for the whole session, the whole series. I think it's definitely going to the end of July. Depending on the feedback, we might even go into August. We'll have to see. Let me know what you think, what kinds of specific questions you have, or specific situations you'd like me to speak to. I can still tweak my schedule. All right. Thank you very much for joining, and see you next week. Ciao.